Hey, broken salespeople. Welcome to the workshop. My name is Red Staffstrom, and I'm here to help you fix your broken sales skills. Today, I want to talk about getting through the hard times. I'm releasing this episode on Thanksgiving of 2020. Feels like most, and I assume almost all other sales podcasts that release on Thursdays are going to talk about gratitude. Use Thanksgiving as that leverage point. Well, I don't feel very grateful right now. And if for me to fake that, I don't think that would give you the best message. I tried writing that episode, it just didn't come out. Now I've written nothing. I'm going off the top of my head here. This is going to be a very authentic look into my mind, whether I want it to be or not. But I want you guys to know that there are going to be days where you don't feel grateful. There are going to be days when you're not going to be happy, where you're going to be angry, where you're going to be miserable, when things don't go the way they were supposed to. It's going to happen because that's part of life. Those miserable times are what make the happy times right too. If you guys listen to my podcast and you listened to the episode last Thursday, you know I lost my brother. My brother was my best friend. All the fun things that I do, all the relaxation, the movies, the video games, the books that I read, almost all of that came from him. The book that I'm writing, wanted him to do the final edit for me. It's tough to feel grateful when you lose such a monumental part of your life, so I'm not going to try. Now let's add a couple other things onto the pile so that you know that I'm not just spouting something that I don't believe in. In terms of hard times, in the last year and a half, I've lost my brother, my mother, and my wife has had a miscarriage, all since July of last year. This weekend, I am actually leaving my house. I'm losing my home. I'm moving in with my dad in order so that he isn't alone all the time. Me and my wife are leaving the house that we built and that we lived in for the last decade. I lived in for the last decade. She's lived in for the last 5 years. Year and a half. Lost a baby, lost my mother, lost my brother, losing my home. I'm not saying leaving is the wrong decision. Leaving to be with my dad is the right decision. It absolutely is, but it doesn't make it any less painful. So if I was here sitting here and telling you, wake up every morning and write 5 things you're grateful for, it'd ring pretty hollow from me this week. So I'm going to tell you how to get through the tough times because I'm in the midst of it and I have before. Last year, after losing my baby, after losing my mother, I wound up having one of the best months I've ever had in terms of sales. The bad things don't have to hold you back completely, but you can't ignore them either. So today I want to talk about some tips in order to get through the tough times because if you haven't had them yet, you will. You're going to have bad weeks. So the first thing is bulldoze through it. This is not sustainable advice. It's not sustainable. It's not something you can do long term, but it can get you through the interim. It's something that you can do for a period of weeks, maybe even a period of months. But after that, you're going to start to crack. There's that phrase in business and sales, fake it till you make it. That's garbage advice. If you know anything about this channel, you know I'm a big believer in authenticity. And for me to tell you fake it till you make it in terms of when you're dealing with some of the worst things that's happened in your life goes across the core like cuts across the core message that I believe in. Don't fake it, but still do it. I've told people before on the interviews a hammer that sits on a pegboard accomplishes nothing. I've also said to people a plan that's at 100% and sits in a drawer accomplishes nothing. A plan at 40% that can execute can get you everything. Except that you're not going to be right, because I know I'm not going to be right for a long time. I know things are going to be broken in me. But I know that I have to push through and do it, even though I am only operating at really 30 to 40%. I still have to. I still have to do this podcast. I still want to do this podcast because this is something that's helping others who may be in a similar position to what I'm in. Doesn't make it easier. Doing the right thing is usually doing the thing that's not easy. So sometimes what you have to do is just buckle up and go. You just have to jump out of that plane, even if you're terrified, even if you're think it's a crazy decision. You have to jump. I returned back to work this week. I've already done. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I've done 13 Zoom calls with clients already on Wednesday. Hour-long consults where I'm talking about how to help their business. That's what my week's been like. Because I know if I don't jump in, the nervousness of it is going to hold me back. Getting it over with is sometimes the best thing to do. I've already cleaned out my brother's room. I've in the process of cleaning out his man cave that he had. He had a room in the basement that I'm basically going to turn into my man cave now. The dread of doing that, the anxiety of doing that was so much worse, so much more difficult than actually going and doing it, than actually picking up a broom and grabbing a couple of contractor garbage bags. The dread is almost always worse than the event. Sometimes you just have to push through and do it. The next tip, get professional help. This is one I've never been great at, quite frankly. But I know a lot of people who've benefited from it, and it's something that I am looking into. I just haven't found somebody yet. It is me planning to practice what I preach. One of my brother's best friends is this guy, Mike. Mike was in Afghanistan, saw some horrendous things. Never talked with him too deep about it, but what I do know is traumatic. He said, and he fought against because he had that machismo, that, that hooah. He fought against seeking professional help. But now, after was starting to speak after my brother passed, he says that was one of the best things he's ever done. He was close to being suicidal. And the therapist is what actually pulled him back. If you are going through tough times, don't try to do it alone. There's so many resources now. There's so much more information than there used to be. Make sure you're getting help if you can get it. There is nothing shameful in it. Sometimes it's nothing more than a sounding board. Sometimes they'll tell you the exact thing you already know, and that's okay. It just confirms what the right direction is for you. And that alone can help alleviate so much anxiety that you have. Make sure you get some help if you can. The next thing is know how to recharge. This is one I'm having a problem with right now. But for normal people, like in normal times, it's what's helped get me through. I don't care what it is. Read books, play video games, go for long walks, listen to music. Find a way to recharge your batteries when things get really difficult. And make sure you set the time aside in order to actually do it. Whether it's exercising, video games, books, movies, make sure you're doing those things to take care of your mental health. The tricky thing for me is all of those things that I still love to do are hard memories now. Um, really hard memories now. Really hard memories now. But I've been diving into other things that me and my brother didn't quite share that recharge me. Things where we were different. Um, my brother didn't read business books. I do. I've dived really heavy into that. This podcast, my brother was not a vocal person. He wasn't somebody to get in front of the camera. I always have been. Those things that are separate from me and my brother, I found the areas where I could recharge safely. If you're having those issues, make sure you do that. Now, this all obviously relates to sales in a pretty blunt and honest way. Your mindset is the most important thing when it comes to making sales. If your mindset isn't right, everything is going to fall apart. Now, I can't expect you to flip a switch. It's not some Superman booth that you can hop in and out of. There's no magic pill. Nothing is going to make this better other than time. And I know that from a rational perspective. But I also know that lethargy makes things worse. Lethargy makes things so much worse. The dread is always worse than the medicine. It always is. Sometimes you just have to push through. And I know that's an easy thing to say and a difficult thing to do because I've been having to do it for the last week and a half. I promise you, productivity is a saving grace. It's a sad, sad thing to say, but feeling like you've accomplished something for them, for yourself, will help get you through the tough times more than anything else will. Because I haven't found anything else in the last 2 years that's done it as well as getting some things done, getting a book almost entirely written, getting a podcast started, writing a blog 5 days a week for 2.5 months. That's what's gotten me through all of these things. Feeling like I'm helping others. Find ways to do that. Find ways to help yourself, to help other people, because nothing invigorates you more than doing those things. I know this was a weird one. I know this wasn't the typical Broken Salespeople episode, but I felt I needed to say it. Mental health, emotional health is so, so vitally important in terms of the foundation that you need in order to get sales. Some weeks maintaining your emotional health is going to be harder than others. Absolutely. But if you don't, this isn't the business for you. Just isn't. I wish I could tell you that there's some magic bullet. I wish I could tell myself. I wish I could find some magic bullet. Be productive. Help others. Offer solutions. Don't just sell. It's not about just offering, it's not just about getting money. It's about solving problems. That's what sales is at its most basic level. It's asking for money in exchange for solving problems for other people. That's how I'm getting through this. I can't white knuckle the whole thing, but I can help others. And that's what I'm doing. Do these things. Start working. Find things to do. Find things that they would have been proud of. Find things that you will be proud of when you hit these tough times. And devote all of your energy to do it. So once again, this has been the Broken Salespeople podcast. My name is Red Staffstrom. Please take the time to review the podcast, like, subscribe. Really helps the channel a lot and gives me the ability to help more people, which I kind of need right now. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, hopefully I'll be a little more sane at that point, possibly in a new workshop. But until next time, thank you for coming to the workshop, and go out and go fix yourself.